Welcome into Wednesday, April 7th. First pitch here, Wager Talk YouTube channel, on Twitter as well. I'm the host, Drew Martin, alongside Brian Leonard and Dave Koken of WagerTalk.com. Dave, welcome in, buddy. And first, off the top here, hats off to your $2 Tuesday smash. The Texas Rangers in the first five. Nice call there, Dave.
Yeah, it was fun. It was nice and easy. That's the way you always want every game. Of course, they're mostly not like that, but it worked out really well. A couple of things to promote. I don't have a lot today. I played one hockey game and one baseball game. There's a second one I liked, but and I'll use it as the best bet here in the show, and I'll tell you why it didn't make the card. There is still a special going on at Wager Talk. It's good through Sunday, and it's to get everything I've got, all my plays for the rest of 2021. I think it works out to about $4 a day. I don't have the exact price in front of me. To be honest, I forgot what it is, but it averages out to about $4 a day. And going back to the start of 2018, so we're talking 3.25 years, net profit is now plus 200, a little more than 209 net units. That's a lot. It's so, it's a good offer if you want to take advantage of it. And if not, that's okay as well. Just follow along and have some fun. And we'll see what today brings.
That's true, Dave. We got 4 games to break down. Best bets at the end, guys. And need to welcome in here Brian Leonard from WagerTalk.com. He's had his own success on the diamond. Welcome in, Brian.
I appreciate it. Yeah, Dave, if you're looking for consistency, Dave has been the most consistent handicapper I can remember for the last 3 years. And the guy doesn't put out a lot of stuff, but when he does, it's worth betting. And congratulations to Dave. And I'm honored to be able to do the show with you at least once a week, every week. And
same here.
Yeah, it's great. And Dave and I are very big into fantasy baseball, so I like to pick each other. We like to pick each other's brains. And yeah, we've got a nice card up today. We've got 2 hockey plays up, 2 more baseball plays up, and we're off our first 4-star play of the season. That was the White Sox last night. And that was a nice victory for us.
Yeah, good call on the Sox there, Brian. And guys, let's get right into the games here. We got an NL East battle up first, as we got the Philadelphia Phillies and the New York Mets. This one going off in Philadelphia. We got Peterson going for the Mets here, Dave. We got Nola going for the Phillies. Looks like the Phillies minus $1.25 favorites at home. Total of 8 in this one. Dave, you interested in getting involved in the first game here, 4:05 Eastern time start?
It's a little pricey for me. I think the Phillies are going to win the ball game, but it's gotten up now. A consensus is about minus 180, and that's rather steep. It's gotten bet up about 15, 20 cents. There are some advantages here. One is that while Peterson I think he's a talented young left-hander who's got a chance to be a really solid major league pitcher. He's the second best starting pitcher in this matchup. Nola is outstanding, and Nola was very efficient in his first start. I thought he looked great. He basically made maybe one bad pitch the whole outing and got stung on that, but he looked good. And the Phillies are playing good ball. They lost last night, but so that maybe slows their momentum a little bit. But I think this team's feeling really good about the way they've started the season. And again, I'm looking more at starting pitching here than anything else. It's just tough to justify Nola not being a good-sized favorite over Peterson if you're looking at a first half of the game bet. Nola's just that strong, and he's very good at home. So I would definitely lean Phillies, but the only way I'd play it is if there's another companion piece where I might be able to do some kind of a parlay. I'm just not a big fan of laying $1.80. It's to me, unless, if I make the line 240, I'll do it, but I don't make the line that high in this case. I think the number's about where it should be.
Yeah, and Brian, I mean, we're showing minus 125 here, minus $1.25, talking about Nola and the Phillies. But looking at the Wager Talk odds screen right now, guys, we're seeing minus 150, as high as minus 160, depending where you're shopping. So, Brian, we've seen some money coming in today on the Phillies. Are you agreeing with that?
Yeah, it did open 125, and the Wager Talk line service is showing about 150. I don't know where you got the 180 day, but you might want to look.
I was looking. My mistake.
First half.
Yep. I have a tendency to just put the screen on first half because that's what most of my bets are.
Yeah, as soon as you said that, I'm thinking he's looking at first halves.
Yep.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense there. Philadelphia has won 19 of the last 31 meetings. I have the Mets graded out as the better team. I do like Peterson. I think he's a young guy who's got some talent. But Nola, as Dave pointed out, has been a guy who's just been on a terrific run. You hate to oppose Nola, whether it's 180 or 150. It's something that I'm really not interested in here. Um, Philadelphia, I like the front end of the Philadelphia starting rotation. Not a big fan of the back end, and their bullpen has gotten much better this year. Um, Philadelphia's got a really good lineup. This was the team in this division I thought had the most advantage on seasonal wins. I thought they were a little bit underpriced seasonal wins, but with the way this line is set up, it would be the Mets or nothing for me. And chances are it's not the Mets. Didn't make my card, and I don't want to go against Nola. So it's a situation where Nola's last 5 against the Mets, he's got a 58 average game score, eight better than the normal. So I'll sit back. There's other games I like better than this one.
Okay, maybe this one, Brian. We got NL Central, NL East going at it. St. Louis and the Miami Marlins is the next game up here, guys. We got Flaherty going for the Redbirds. We got Pedro Lopez going for the Fish.
Pablo.
Looks like a competitively priced game here. -110 with a total of 7.5 here, Brian. I looking at this one, just the starting pitching matchup, looking towards the under here, can get it as high as 7.5. I don't know. What are you thinking here, St. Louis and Miami, Brian?
Yeah, it makes sense to me. Pablo Lopez is a guy I've been on the last few years, and he's really getting better as time goes on. You take a look at his last 4 starts last year: 73, 58, 67 game score. Started this year against Tampa Bay, 65 game score. He's just been really good. The problem with Tampa Bay is their offense has done nothing so far this year. So Miami. Miami's very similar to the Cleveland Indians in my regard this year, where you've got 3 or 4 guys that are really good starters, but you've got a terrible lineup. And the Indians can't score. And as a few minutes ago, as we were taping this, they hadn't scored yet in today's game. So that's the problem when you're playing Miami. I think the better ways are to look for unders in Miami games. Flaherty come out his first game against Cincinnati, and he got hit around pretty well. 29 game score. You would expect him to bounce back strong from that. I don't think there's any health issues with Flaherty here. So the under is the way that I like this game. Under full game, I think, is a pretty good bet.
Yeah, Dave, what are you thinking here, St. Louis and Miami today?
So I'll talk about both pitchers. Flaherty has what I'll call amber flags. They're not red flags, but amber flags. He's still, since he's come up, has been phenomenal first time through the order pitcher. Now, last year, it was a short season, but last year he was not nearly as effective second time through the lineup. The numbers, we'll just use OPS because I don't want to go through a whole bunch of them, but he went from 577 first time through the order, which is really, anything under 6 is really good. 724 second time through the lineup, which is that's a big gap, okay? And it's only 1 start, but his first start last week, really good. First time through the lineup, 536 OPS. Second time through, 1.444. So something is happening with him where either he's losing some efficiency second time through the lineup, or guys are starting to figure him out a little bit. So I'd call that it's not a red flag because it hasn't happened long enough for there to be a definitive trend here. But I call it an amber flag because it's something to keep an eye on. Pablo Lopez, who you keep calling Pedro for some reason. I don't know anything about Pedro Lopez, but Pablo Lopez is a number 1 starter. I started saying this last year in terms of his potential, and he really started to put it together late in the season. His issues before that were intermittent losses of command, where he just lose the strike zone and start walking people. And then when you start walking people, you start aiming the ball and trying to get it just in the strike zone, and bad things happen when that happens. That seems to be going away. This is a guy who, it's interesting to note, the Marlins, not a lot of teams have this. They've got 2 number 1 starters on my rankings. The way I set up my rankings, I have my pitchers, rather than, I've got precise power ratings on them, but I try to group them. Number 1s, number 2s, number 3s, number 4, number 5s, and shouldn't be starting. I've got Miami with 2 number 1 starters, Alcantara and Lopez. And I actually have Lopez as the higher rated among those two. It's close, but I have Lopez as the higher rated because I think his stuff is so projectable. He has a chance to be one of the most dominant pitchers in baseball. So I'm looking at the Marlins here early on. I think there's an edge with Lopez over Flaherty, and you get a little bit of plus money. I think the first five is, where is it? Oh, it's even money. You might even get a nickel plus 108. I'm seeing at the Westgate where they have 10-cent lines, which is rather nice. So I'll go in that direction here, and we'll see what happens with Flaherty moving forward. Whether this is a sign of things to come, or maybe just a blip for a good pitcher.
Yeah, Dave, I second that. Shout out to the Westgate in terms of getting their MLB lines up early and some good lines out there. They're doing a good job. And talking about this game, guys, just something I could add here. You know, the Miami Marlins, I agree with both Dave and Brian in terms of just starting pitching, maybe even comparing them to the Indians like Brian did. Very, very good. Pablo Lopez being the number 2 on the fish, but heck, on a lot of teams, he could be number 1 next to Alcantara, who had a great outing again, Dave. Just last night, he had 10 Ks through 5 innings, then had a little bit of a rough up there. But overall, both of these two pitchers, I'm looking to bet on both unders and Miami. But one thing I want to throw out there, Aguilar wasn't in the lineup last night for the Fish. You don't want to be betting on Miami when he's not in the lineup. He's a talented hitter, and he's, in my opinion, their best hitter. I know you could point towards Anderson as well, Cooper, decent MLB hitters here. But when those guys aren't in the lineup, you really want to watch out betting Miami, just because there's not a whole lot of firepower in that Miami lineup. So maybe look towards the under if that's the case. But guys, we got 2 more games here, breaking them down and best bets at the end. Do want to throw out here a shout out to the coupon code for the show. It's a great deal at both WagerTalk and sportsmemo.com. It's first pitch 200 at checkout. That is the coupon code. Just spell it out there, guys. First pitch 200 for Dave or Brian's full MLB season package. You can use it for any handicapper at both websites, WagerTalk and sportsmemo.com. We got Baltimore and the New York Yankees up next, guys. AL East battle, as we're pulling up the lines here on the Wager Talk odds screen. We're seeing Means plus 175 in the Orioles as the road team here, Dave. We got Jamison Taillon going for the Yankees, minus $2 favorite here. Looks like total of 9.5 in Yankee Stadium. Dave, you interested in getting involved here in the AL East matchup today?
No, not at all. But I'll talk about the game. On the pitching, I think there's value on the Means side. He's pretty. We talked about this last week in the Orioles Red Sox game. Means is pretty good. He gets completely overlooked because he's on a bad baseball team, but this guy can pitch, and his changeup was absolutely beautiful against the Red Sox. I mean, his location with it was absolutely terrific. And when you locate the change that well, it makes a low 90s fastball very difficult to hit. If he's got that kind of stuff tonight, even against a very strong Yankees lineup, he's got a good chance of doing well here. And Taillon hasn't pitched yet. His first time out in a long, long time, because he didn't pitch, of course, last year. He's had a ton of injuries. Guy's got a world of talent, but has had a very difficult time staying on the field with illness and injury. Now, the downside here is that the Orioles, if you think the Twins have trouble with the Yankees, which they do, the Orioles are right there. I mean, they just get destroyed by this team game after game after game. And it's really tough to back them, even as a big underdog, because of the fact that I'm not a big history guy, but when it's this lopsided, you got to look at it. When it's just tough to back the Orioles here because they never beat this team. So if I had to bet it, I'd take the Orioles because Means is off a really good performance, and I think maybe he shouldn't be this big a price against anybody. But it's just not a game I can play because of the team stuff.
Yeah, good stuff, Dave. I agree with you. And Brian, interested in your take in mainly on Taillon and how to go after this from a handicapping perspective, because it's been so long. But like Dave talked about, I mean, his upside is definitely there. Means as this big of an underdog. I'm kind of interested in the Orioles today, Brian.
Yeah, it's interesting. Dave talked about the dominance. The last 3 years, 26-5, Yankees over Baltimore. Yeah, Taillon, not only did he not pitch last year, but when he pitched before his entire career is the Pittsburgh Pirates. a team that was never really very good in a area that honestly, it's very much like Cleveland, where if you play for that team, everybody loves you. Nobody ever. It's now he's got to pitch in New York City. He's got to pitch in New York, and we have seen this out of how many pitchers over the years that were a good pitcher, and then they went to New York and they were lousy because they just couldn't take all the pressure on them there. So the guy hasn't pitched in basically 2 years, and he's going out there for the Yankees today. And Dave talked about John Means. I mean, something clicked last year because to me, he was a journeyman at that point. But you take a look at his last 5 starts last year, 66 games scored. Keep in mind, league average is 50. 66, 61 at Yankee Stadium, 71, 74. His first start this year at Boston, Hitters Park, an 80. So John Means has been on. Something's clicked with John Means the last 9 months or so, and the guy has really started pitching well. And you're catching him here in this situation, as Dave pointed out. You know, the Yankees have dominated here, but we can make money betting on Baltimore without having them win the game. One is to take the run line plus 1.5. The Yankees are very happy to get out of here with a 1-run win, and we're able to take Baltimore plus the 1.5. The other, to steal Dave's thunder, he's the first 5 guy. This is a situation in the first 5. I think Baltimore really has a chance here. And if you've seen Baltimore against the Yankees these last 3 years that the Yankees have dominated, many times the Orioles have taken a lead early in the game and then faltered as the game went on because their bullpen, to be honest, they sucked. But none of their bullpen players in the back end of the bullpen pitched yesterday. So the Yankees bullpen far better than the Orioles, but none of the key guys pitched yesterday. And so you've got the full back end of the bullpen, and Means has gone, 5 2/3 innings or higher, longer for his last 5 or 6 starts. So I think Means first half is a good bet. I think the Orioles plus the 1.5 is a good bet. No way the Yankees should be a 2-1 favorite here just based on anything other than history.
Brian, handicapping question for you, because you bring up, the plus 1.5 as the road team here with Baltimore. Is that something you do a lot? I mean, because I like it because it's the road team here. You would get 9 at bats to 8 at bats plus the 1.5 here at pretty much even odds. Profile of bet wise, I kind of like that. Is that something you bet a lot?
Yeah, I do the same thing in hockey. I'll take the 1.5. I don't lay 1.5. On the hockey show we do, and Dave's on it. It's a great show, but a lot of the guys will play regulation and they will play minus 1.5. The hockey team, all they want to do, you ask Colorado when they're playing Buffalo, would you take a 1-run or a 1-goal win? Of course, as long as we win, that's all that matters. It's the same with baseball. How many times do we see a team that's up 2 runs going into the 9th inning? First guy walks, they let him steal second, they let him steal third because they don't care. They're going after that hitter. So you find a lot of 1-run situations in baseball. You find even more 1-goal situations in hockey because your average total in hockey is 5.5. Your average total in baseball is 9. So I never lay the 1.5. I will take the 1.5 if it's a team that I think can play a good game against them, and I don't think they may not be able to win the game straight up.
I like it, Brian. Good definition there. Guys, we got one more game and then best bets to hit. This last game we're talking is actually my best bet. So, Brian, I guess come to you first. In the NL West, we got Arizona and Colorado. Next game up, we're seeing the Arizona Diamondbacks minus 105. Almost a pick 'em price here with the Colorado Rockies minus 115 at home. Looks like a total of 11.5 in Coors Field. Interesting to note, though, does look like wind blowing in from left center last time I checked here, Brian. But are you interested in getting involved tonight, a mile high in the nightcap?
Yeah, this is one of the few I really don't have much of an opinion on. Going back the last 3 years, these teams are split 15-15. So there's no dominance in that regard. Bumgarner, he didn't pitch well his first start at San Diego. He had a 27-game score. But from some of the advanced stats that I've looked at and some of the guys that actually watched him pitch, and I missed this game, they said he was better than what his stats showed. So it's a situation that I'm kind of throwing away that first game. It is in San Diego against one of the most powerful offenses in baseball, and now they're taking on a Colorado team who, as Dave pointed out in the season preview, he was looking to bet under in wins from Colorado, and I joined him. I thought that was a definite one of the better spots to play under for Colorado. I don't think they're very good. Sensatalia's last 5 games against Arizona, his average game score is 38. So he hasn't pitched well against them. And his first start this year, he unfortunately had to play the Dodgers, and his game score is 15, and that was at home. So if there's anything here to look at, I think would be possibly playing the over here. But to be honest with you, this is probably a game I'm really not interested in.
Okay. And Dave, this is the last game on the card. You know, a lot of people going to be betting on it. You interested at all here? D-backs versus Rocks?
No, and I'm not really sure what they would have been seeing in Bumgarner's first performance. I thought he was terrible. I mean, his control, he got some swings and misses, and he got a little bit unlucky on the balls that were put into play, but his control was terrible. Look, he's just, at this point, he's a shell of what he used to be. The hard hit rate over the last few years, it's getting worse and worse. I mean, these are terrible numbers. Hard hit percentage, that's exit velocity of 95 or more. 41.6% in 2018, 43.8% in 2019, 44% in 2020. You can't survive numbers like that. Nobody can. I mean, those are ridiculously high. Now, the one positive, sort of, is that his fastball velocity was up. In fact, his velocity across the board was up in the start against the Padres. But it was only up to 90.5. It had gone down so much last year. His average fastball last year was 88.5. That's Jared Weaver territory. You better be locating your pitches really well to survive that. Now he's up to 90.5, but I don't know. I don't think there's much left there. I think the competitive fire is about all he has left, and that is something because, I mean, Bumgarner's been one of the best competitors I've ever seen over the years. We saw that in all 3 of those Giants championships. But I think the tank's kind of empty. I don't have any interest in Senzatella. I think he's a fringe guy. Where do I have him on my ratings? I've got Senzatella. Well, I actually have him above Bumgarner. I've got Bumgarner as a 5. I've got Senzatella as like a 4.5. I just don't like backing those guys. I have a tendency to stay out of those, and I'm not much of an over better. But this is a game where if I had to do anything, I don't care what the win conditions are. I'd still bet the over. These two guys are just not very good. Neither one figures to be around the game that long, and neither bullpen is trustworthy. You could get a lot of runs here.
I'm with you, Dave. I mean, I really only threw at the win just for information, and I would have no interest in betting the under Mile High with these 2 starting pitchers on. And guys, we got best bets coming up. I guess I can just lead it off because this is my best bet here with the D-backs and the Rockies. I think Dave punched on a couple things here with Bumgarner and why I would look to fade him. My best bet is Colorado minus 105. I know we're posting minus 115, but if you look at the Wager Talk odds screen and the numbers available right now, there's multiple books at minus 105, so some opinion in the marketplace. I do think some of the odds makers, Dave, are pointing towards Bumgarner having some success in Coors Field. His numbers aren't terrible. I guess that's one thing that you can point at. Oh, go ahead.
I said, when was that?
Yeah, exactly. That's what I wanted to.
You just can't. What he did 5 years ago doesn't mean anything. That pitcher no longer exists. So that's, I don't care about the past numbers. More recent numbers are all that matters.
Exactly, and that's what I'm going towards. Not that in 2019 they were that bad, but I just think fading Bumgarner, which I did in his first start, is going to be a profitable proposition here going forward, at least early in the season, guys. So that's why I like the Colorado Rockies at home. Sensatella I have ranked ahead of Bumgarner as well, and the fact that Bumgarner in his first start out, 3 walks, 7 hits, and only 4 innings. those aren't great numbers, no matter who's pitching, no matter how fast they're pitching. And yes, the tick up in velocity is there, but still at just 90 miles per hour. I'm all about fading Bumgarner right now. So going with the Colorado Rockies minus 105 at home in tonight's nightcap for the first best bet for the show. Brian, you want to lead us off here with the second best bet of the show? Where are you looking tonight?
Yeah, I just want to touch on the game that you have there. Dave was right. It was the velocity that they were said was up. I'd much rather have a guy who went from 93 to 95 than a guy that goes to 88 to 90. And Bumgarner, he didn't pitch last year against Colorado in Colorado, but in 2019, his last two starts there, his game scores were 32 and 51. 51, slightly better than average, 32, not very good. I'm going to go back to the Baltimore Orioles. I'm going to take the plus 1.5 here for the full game. John Means is going to go 6 innings here. They got the full bullpen available tonight. And I tweeted this out yesterday. The Yankees, you think of the Yankees as being one of the really hard-hitting teams in baseball, and they are. I mean, when Stanton or some of their big guys get up there and get a hold of it, they just hit the hell out of the ball. Well, so far this year, going into last night, they were dead last in hard hit rate. They moved up a couple spots after last night, but still a team not hitting the ball very well right now, and they've got a crafty pitcher out there. So I'm going to play Baltimore plus 1.5. I believe it's like minus 110 even money, something in that regards, and that'll be my best bet on the show today.
I like it, Brian. I like that plus 1.5 look with the away team in the Orioles. Guys, we got Dave Koken's best bet, but first up, just going to make you wait about 30 more seconds because we have the new segment here with Tokyo Brandon from WagerTalk.com. If you're looking for some overnight wagering, guys, he's been a scout in the Asian leagues for quite some time, knows this league very well. So we're going to Tokyo Brandon with the Japan baseball play of the day.
What's up, sports bettors? This is your Japanese baseball quick pick for tonight. This game starts at 2 a.m. The DNA BayStars are traveling to Nagoya to take on the Chunichi Dragons, and we have one bad bullpen and one really good bullpen. We have one good starting pitcher, two mediocre lineups. I'm looking at the under in this game. When the line comes out, it should be 8 or 7.5. When it does come out, take the under on that one. Good luck with all your bets, and I'll be back with more. Thanks.
Thanks to Tokyo Brandon with the Japanese baseball play of the day. Guys, it's been a great show. Let's end it with the grand finale here, Dave, off of the $2 Tuesday winner. What are you looking to do for best bets on today's show, Dave?
So this is a game that would have been on my card if it was a half run higher. I'm kind of anal about this stuff. I bet sports, but I'm not a gambler. There's a big difference. If I were just gambling, I'd definitely be on this game. But that's just not the way I approach things. I don't care whether there's a lot of plays or not. And I don't care about action. I want the edge. I like the first 5 under in the matchup between the Padres and Giants. But I like it to bet at under 4. And it's not there. It's 3.5. And that's what I don't like, that 3.5. Because there's just no room for error. If it lands on 4, I don't get my money back. If it lands on 4, I want to at least get my money back. But I do like the under. Snell, very simply, is as good as it gets 2 times through the lineup. I know people are still pissed at him because he took Kevin Cash took him out in the World Series, but Kevin Cash is a believer in the analytics, and the analytics on Snell are clear cut. Once he gets to about 75 pitches, he completely loses his effectiveness, and that's just all there is to it. So Cash took him out and got a lot of shit for it, but that's, it didn't work. If he'd have left him in and he got crushed, they'd have crucified him for that too. So Snell for the first 5 innings is a dynamite guy, and so is Gausman based on what he's been doing. But and we'll go back to the Amber Flags thing. I didn't like a couple of things I saw in his first start. Gausman last year turned into an absolute stud. Part of it was more use of the changeup. A really good splitter when he used it, and he didn't get rid of it completely, but he basically just showed the slider, which isn't a very good pitch for him. In his first start last week, the numbers were good, but I didn't like the pitch sequencing. He didn't use the changeup hardly at all, and he went back to using the slider on a more frequent basis. I don't like that, so I'm going to keep an eye on him. I still think this is going to be a really low-scoring game early, particularly with the Padres missing Tatis. That is an enormous hit to their offense. They can get by defensively without him, but offensively, that's just a big blow to the San Diego offense. And if he's out for a long time, it really takes it's going to have an impact on whether they make the playoffs or not. The Dodgers will run away with that division if Tatis needs surgery and is going to be out for an extended period. So best bet for the show is under 4 in the Padres Giants first 5. But I didn't bet it because it's not under 4. It's under 3.5. We'll use it as the best bet on the show, but that's as far as it goes.
All right. Thanks for that, Dave. And guys, in recap, we got Dave Koken, Giants, Padres, first 5 under 3.5. Brian Leonard, Orioles, 1.5 plus 1.5 there. Tokyo Brandon doing the Bay Stars, Dragons under 8 or 7.5, depending on where that line is. And I'm Colorado Rockies, minus 105 in the nightcap. Brian, coming to you for last final thoughts here.
Yeah, a couple of things. First off, the Dave's play, there's a couple of guys I know that are very good in totals. They play that entire game under. So I think Dave's on the right side there. But you always have to pay attention to what the line is. Secondly, regarding Tokyo Brandon, the guy has been tremendous.
Oh.
Problem is, when you're betting these games in Japan and Korea, somebody bets it and you lose the line. He talked about betting this game under 8 and under 7.5. It's under 7 juiced right now. So, in fact, bookmakers got under 7 minus 33.
Ooh.
So if you're looking to play it, make sure you get some semblance of close to what he gave out. That's the hard part when you're playing these limited. I'm sure in Japan they take a lot of money, but in South Korea I'm not so sure. But when you're playing these games, the lines move like crazy. So if he was on here now at 7, would he have the same play? Maybe we'll have to talk to him next time and find out what his limit would be before we start betting something that's a full run below what he likes. And believe me, if he likes it, the line's going to move. He's really good.
Yep.
Yeah, that's a good point there, Brian. Full run off. Maybe not so much, guys. Maybe pump the brakes on that one. But guys, that does it for the show.
There is
Dave?
a solution. Get his plays, because that way you get him right when he puts them out, and you can bet the damn thing immediately and get what promises to be good value in most cases. So there's your solution.
There you go.
Tokyo Brandon, WagerTalk.com. Guys, remember the coupon code FIRSTPITCH200 at checkout takes $200 off MLB full season packages. Good for Dave Koken, Brian Leonard, any handicapper at WagerTalk or SportsMemo.com. So guys, thanks for tuning in. Please smash the like button on your way out. We'll be back tomorrow, same time, same place, right here on the WagerTalk YouTube channel, First Pitch. So best of luck with your bets. Until then, guys.